So right now, this is one of the first times Taro has gotten to experience the mirror in this room. And it's not set up like the mirror in the loft was, which is just one big flat panel. This mirror is a makeup mirror. The left side has magnification on the two panels. The top one says ×2. The bottom one says ×3. Probably doesn't show up well on camera. The middle panel and the right panel are normal magnification, so just your normal level of mirror. 1:1, I guess you could say. Now, part of what makes this interesting to me is that when I show them this mirror, I'm hoping he'll do it again. He was doing it before I started filming, I'm hoping he will go back to exploring behind the mirror. It's something that suggests that he's getting some inkling that what he sees in the mirror is perhaps not a real bird. Now, whether or not that says he understands it's his own reflection is not something that I can say for sure, or even, make a great guess at. But from what I've seen with them, coming across the mirror and looking behind the mirror and how they interact with the mirror versus with how they interact with other birds, it does suggest to me that they eventually come to realize that the mirror isn't a real bird. It isn't perhaps, a flock mate. And that they have some amount of control over what they see in the mirror. I see this outside with the boys in particular. They like to strut in front of the mirror and do some dances. But they don't really behave as if they are dancing at another male who wouldn't be interested. They don't try to, they're not aggressive to the mirror. They're not trying to make the mirror go away. Newt usually only dances in front of the mirror when his wife is busy on the nest or she isn't on the ground. He prefers to visit the mirror when there is nobody else there. Cloud is the same. Usually he would prefer to visit the mirror when nobody else is around. I don't know exactly what this means. I'm not going to claim that pigeons definitely know that they can see that their reflection is their reflection. I can just say what I see. If I had the equipment and know-how and time, I would like to be able to perhaps set up a camera on the ceiling of the loft looking down at the mirror and see if the dancing that Newt in particular and Cloud do with the mirror, Hemlock also, but he would prefer to go find another bird than to interact with the mirror. I would want to see if that dancing has the same sort of arc or loop, the same sort of round movement, like this versus a long arc oblong movement. I would want to see if the dancing that is done in front of the mirror is the same dancing that would be done to another bird. But, with having, real data and perhaps a computer analyze it instead of a person, just to see actual factual patterns instead of subjective opinions. But again, that's not really something I have access to or will have access to anytime soon, but it's just a random desire of mine. My guess is that if they don't see themselves in the mirror as their own reflection, is that they understand it's not a real bird, but something in between, something that perhaps like a video game for a person, we understand we can move the character on the screen, but the character isn't us. This is just a wild guess, of course. I don't know. It's impossible to say what they're thinking. The test of the mirror test in general is kind of hard to run because you need an animal which is going to react to something. That was a terrible poop. Can you eat something, please? That is going to react to something on them, so they'll pick it off. Putting a red dot on a toddler's nose and having them stand in front of the mirror, and then they bring up their hand to touch their real nose and not the mirror, right? Well, that doesn't necessarily work on every animal. Not every animal's good at that, and birds in particular don't seem to be great about the mirror test. Now, that's, again, that could just be a flaw with the experiment itself, whether or not they're wired to behave in a way that will react to seeing their own reflection with fixing something on themselves. And also the fact that not every animal has the eyesight or their eyes placed in a place that makes this easy to do. Not every animal can see the color we put on them. Not every animal has eyes placed in a way where they couldn't see the dot until they were in front of a mirror. I mean, you can see him, he just goes right down to his right behind his own neck, pretty much. He can preen pretty much his whole body except the top of his head. So in that case, where do you put a dot on a bird where they can't see it? How do you place it so that they don't know it's there before they're in front of a mirror? And then I think, they have to care about whether or not there's been something on them that they didn't expect there to be. If you have a bird go in front of a mirror for the first time with a dot on them, do they know that the dot wasn't there to begin with? Do they understand that the dot isn't part of them? So, there's a lot of trouble with the mirror test. It's a lot to sort of think around and try to get to work. And it's very hard to know if, our own perceptions of how this should work are going to apply to an animal very different than us. So all I can say is that, the pigeons do not seem to always believe that their reflection is another bird. I've seen it happen. It seems to be sort of an individual basis. Some pigeons are a little more convinced that the bird in the mirror is truly another bird. In fact, it can slow down some bonding in some cases. So if you get a new pigeon, don't feel like you have to give them a mirror right away. Giving them time to bond to you first and not to have this obsessive time with the mirror can be helpful. They can get a little fixated on reflections. But I really wish he would do it again, because he was doing it before he settled down to have some staring time. But I've seen, not just Taro, but his father and Newt and Newt's kids. I've seen them look behind the mirror. They're looking for the bird, and then the bird isn't there, of course. Are you not going to work for me today? Huh? Do I have to take another video of you once you start to think about it again? Hemlock used to come up to the panels on the left and just sort of slide his head into the frame of the extra magnification panels and just stare. And he'd pull his head back out and he'd look behind. And then, you know, oh, we're thinking about looking behind? Are we just having me time now? All right. Hi, little man. Hi, little man. I'll give you a minute to see if you want to go back. Hi. What are you doing? Hi. Yeah. Yeah? He's getting a nice little coo. You have a good coo? You have a good coo? Hi. Sala. I'll catch him if he's trying to look behind the mirror, but I'm assuming this may be the end of this video, but considering this is him experiencing a new mirror setup for the first time, I thought it'd be interesting to try to catch some of it. And of course he goes right back to looking at the mirror. There he is. There he goes looking behind. I wouldn't be so convinced that he was looking behind the mirror unless I saw him do it multiple times. You know, it could just be a coincidence that he's going behind the mirror. But, you know, it's not the only time I've seen him do it. Sometimes he looks harder and longer. They seem to pick it up fairly quickly that there's not a bird behind the mirror, it's only in the mirror. Do you want petting now? Is this... What's the goal? Hmm? What's the goal, bud? Huh? Hi, little man. Are you done? Yeah, I guess we'll get some bonus petting in. Yeah, well... There you go. Now I have to stop the video without breaking the camera.